Hello everyone, my name is Justin. I go by You Just Spins on Reddit, and I'm not really a YouTuber, so you have to bear with me here a little bit. Purpose for this video is to clarify some information that I broke a few days ago after a conversation on the telephone with my brokerage representative at E-Trade. I've prepared DD, never done that before, posted it up for you guys. It's somewhat receptive. However, I see that there's still some confusion, so I think that it's probably in everyone's best interest that we attempt to make another call to E-Trade to sort of go over and reiterate some of these questions, in addition to ask additional questions that some of you have brought forward in the comment section of the multiple posts that are going around social media. So if you could just bear with me here for a second, I'm going to make a call to my brokerage at E-Trade.
Welcome to E-Trade. To speak with your dedicated active trader team, say customer service or press 0. Please hold while I connect you to your dedicated active trader team.
Your call may be recorded or monitored for quality assurance purposes.
Sometimes we get right through, other times it takes 15 minutes. So I will, oh, here we go.
Hello, thank you for calling E-Trade Financial. My name is Chase Pennock. How can I help you today?
Hi, maybe you can. I am a corporate account holder with you guys, and I need to have my information escalated, or I'm sorry, this telephone call escalated to your corporate action team.
Okay, let's take a look. What's your first and last name? Okay, thank you. I've got your account pulled up here. What did you need to talk to them about?
I have a laundry list of questions regarding a security that I currently hold that is in the process of going through a special dividend. It's a spin-off for TYDE.
And is this in your brokerage account or the corporate account?
It's in the corporate account.
Okay, perfect. Well, give me just a moment here. Get you in touch with them. It shouldn't be too long of a wait, so I'll be right back with you.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Still with me?
I am.
All right, thanks for your patience. I've got my colleague Robert on the line here with us from the corporate actions team to help you out.
Hi there, good afternoon.
Hi, Robert. How are you? Can you hear me, sir?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It kind of breaks there. Yeah. Okay, yeah, and again, this is Robert Hutchin with E-Trade.
Hi, Robert. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you just fine. I'm doing all right. Thank you. How are you today?
All right, Robert. I think I actually might have even spoken to you yesterday. If it sounds familiar to you as we get into this, then you'll probably have a good idea of where I'm going. So I had spoke to somebody yesterday regarding BBIG, ticker symbol BBIG, and the spin-off that is scheduled to go down May 31st. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yep,
and
I'm familiar with that.
It was you that I spoke to yesterday?
I believe so.
Okay. So I just kind of want to run through this. I was thinking about everything that we had to discuss, and you know, I have some additional questions, and I kind of want to reiterate some things too. So
Sure.
the virtual shares being BBIGV and TYDEV, they are virtual shares, correct? I understand that correctly?
Correct.
Meaning
Those
they're
are when issued. They're when as and if issued.
okay. Meaning
They're trading shares.
okay.
Go ahead.
And so BBIG simply allows BBIG to currently be traded minus the value of TYDE. Is that correct?
Yes. Using the when issued shares, the when as and if issued
Okay.
virtual shares.
And then TYDEV,
Your BBIG, the share you have to pull with the spin-off shares included in them, priced in them.
right? BBIG has the spinoff currently included in it, and then BBIGV is currently trading, and that represents the value stripped out for TYDE.
That would be what essentially they're trying to do. And again, they are when, as, and if issued shares. So they're not, they're shares that they haven't actually been issued to the market. So they essentially aren't, they're not real shares, essentially.
I understand that. And is that common practice in a transaction like this?
They can do it. You do have some risk in trading it if you're trading with issued shares. That wouldn't be inherent in the actual shares.
Okay.
So
And that risk is that something could potentially go wrong, and then what would happen if I was invested in TYDEV or BBIGV at this particular moment? What could potentially, I mean, if something went wrong in this deal and it was reversed, what would happen to me as a shareholder in that? Would you guys refund? Like, what happens?
well, look for anything that potentially, might be occurring. They're like I said, there is risk inherent in if you're trading when, as, and if issued shares. That isn't in any shares, of course, have inherent risk. You have market risk and whatnot. These risks with you're trading in shares that haven't actually been issued yet. What happens if they don't ever get? What does a company end up doing at that point? And essentially, whoever is trading them is going to be on the hook for any potential losses that might occur from that.
Okay. Okay. All right. And what will determine the stock price of TYDE coming out of the X date on May 31st?
Well, just like with anything else, when they start trading it in the market, it's going to be determined by what essentially buyers versus sellers, so whatever the market essentially overall thinks of it.
So if the market's trading in it, I think it was launched at like $15 or something to that effect. At one point, I think I saw it go up to $19, and I'm not really sure where it's trading now. So ultimately, the effect of that price is people in the marketplace, whether it be institutions or retail traders, are affecting that price.
Absolutely, and like think of it this way: on the market close every day under all the different stocks, it's listed or NASDAQ, you're going to have something called a closing cross transaction. Basically, going into the close, the primary exchange will start essentially matching up, buy and sell orders to put on and to include in the closing cross transaction. They'll have stuff they can mark orders and stuff like that are imbalance only type orders and stuff. And basically right after the closing cross transaction, which isn't part of the actual market. So that's why, like, if you put a limit order out there, even if it closes at or through your price, you may not actually get done because the closing cross it's trade through exempt. So that's why the market can close at one price, and then every morning they do an opening cross transaction. Again, where prior to the market matching up buy and sell orders, the primary exchange will start rounding up all those, including, like I said, the market maker, the imbalance only, and there's some other ones, but they'll match those up. And if you take a look on stock in the open, it's going to have right on the opening, usually the primary opening is going to have a very large trade where they matched up all the buys and sells to determine where the opening price. So I can see sometimes in the market where it can close at one price, and then if you have a bunch of bad news outside of market hours, the next day it can open at a much lower price, or if you have good news, it can open up at a much higher price.
Now,
without having really any.
Now, not to stop you and interrupt, but for a little bit of clarification there, when you're saying open, are we talking about like 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or are we talking about pre-market?
We're talking about the aftermarket session, 9:30, and the clip right after the market session close. We'll talk about for the regular market session. The extended hours doesn't have anything to do with either of those.
Okay. Can I ask you a question now? Like, while it's on my mind, it's kind of like off of where I was going, but I'm curious now because it's a question I've always had.
Yeah, I was kind of getting sidetracked a little bit. I was just using that. So basically, when you're asking about, how this will spin it off and how it's going to start trading, it'll basically be similar to that. It's the same kind of deal. It's going to be depending on what the market overall thinks.
Okay.
It can trade at a longer stuff. So that's why I went into the whole thing about the.
You're really breaking up on me right now. Oh shit.
Yeah, I apologize.
No, it's okay. I think it's me. I live in a stone house, so sometimes my signal is off. It's a bitch. Okay, and back to the virtual shares again, just for clarification, because those shares are non-existent, am I correct in understanding that they can't be shorted either at this particular moment?
I believe that's correct. Let me just take a quick look. Yeah, those ones I don't believe can be shorted. They're on requirement. Sure.
Okay. Okay, and regarding the due bill status of this particular transaction, it's my understanding is that the spinoff is a special dividend, right, with a due bill designation. And if you could, again, can you explain the purpose of that process to me so that I can gain a better understanding of why it's designated a due bill transaction or spinoff, and what is its significance to this particular dividend?
Again, because anyone who's buying that, on the last day before the first package, and with the spinoff included in the price that you're paying for your BBIG shares. So obviously it won't be settled if you buy it on on the Friday before that, because I guess the Monday the 30th is a market holiday.
Correct.
So if you buy it on the previous day or the 2 days, it'll be sold. So you would be due the spin-off shares. You're buying it with the included in the price you're paying for the shares of BBIG. So you're due the
dividend.
The spin-off shares.
Okay.
And they don't sell it, carry that price into it and then receive spin-off as well. Does that make sense?
I didn't quite catch that. I'm sorry. You broke up a little bit. I'm going to try to move here in my house so that I can hear you better. All right. Can you say that one more time?
Yeah. For the people selling it, they're selling it on the shares. You're selling it with the spin-off shares, or if you want to call it a dividend, it's essentially the same. Whether you want to call it a stock dividend or a spin-off, you're selling it with that priced into the shares. So you're getting the price with those shares baked into the BBIG price until the 31st, and then if you still and you sold the shares with the price out to it, so then you wouldn't be able to get the price with the spin-off price into it, and then receive the spin-off as well. You don't get to double dip, basically.
Gotcha. Bear with me here because I'm going to move again because we're still breaking up.
No problem.
I don't know if it's on your end or my end because I have a signal and I'm just not hearing you correctly right now. Are you there? You still there, bud?
I am. I can hear you.
All right.
Fine. So.
Okay, so the due bill is just for the purpose of baking in the price of TYDE at this particular moment. And my question is, like, if there's a record date of May 18th, what the hell does that even matter if I can still buy BBIG at this particular point and receive the dividend up through, well, essentially the May 27th, because the market is closed on Monday, May 30th.
Yeah, exactly. But had that not been a market holiday, you'd be able to buy it all the way up until Monday. Obviously, with it being a market holiday, you wouldn't be able to buy it on Monday for this particular event. But generally speaking, all the way up to the day before, and then you don't have to do it.
I gotcha. Okay.
So basically, the record date when it comes to whether or not you're due the in this case, whatever you want to call it, the stock spin-off or stock dividend, whatever, whether or not you're due those shares, the record date has nothing to do with that, in a sense.
I got you.
It could have the impact on certain things. There could be other events that would be more related to not so much the trading of it, but depending on, like, if you were say, transferring an account from one firm to another, and they happen to do it during a certain period of time, it could still impact where, if, or something like that, some corporate action might get directed to initially from, like a transfer between firms or something like that. It occurred in between the record date period and the X date period. But as far as the actual title to the shares is driven by the X date. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. So
Yeah, that's when I tell people, when it comes to a corporate action, pretty much all the time, the date that you really need to be aware of is the X date.
Gotcha. And for this transaction, it's now May 31st. I believe it used to be like June 1st or June 2nd, and it was moved to May 31st. Is that correct? Can you see that information?
I saw it as May 31st. I don't recall it. It's possible that they could have moved it, but I saw that it was, they said that when I looked at it, the exchange rule, the 31st is the
right.
X
Actually,
date.
you know what? I think it was the X date. I think that the distribution date itself might have been moved. So as far as distribution itself goes right now, from what you can see on your end, that transaction should transpire at some point between the middle of the night from May 30th into May 31st. Is that correct?
Yep. And then
And
depending
how would the market being closed on the 30th affect that?
that I really couldn't. I can't tell you how the market really, how anything is going to impact the market. There's no way.
Well, I'm not talking about the market. I'm not talking about the market. What I'm saying is, I explained to you that I had been in a security back in September wherein, other brokerages started trading. It was a merger between SPRT and the ticker symbol GREE.
Yeah.
And, I got hung up in that where other people, I walked right into it. I bought the security on the morning of, I believe, September 14th. And the transaction went down between September 14th and September 15th in the middle of the night. And when I woke up during pre-market, because I was up to pay attention to what was going on, that day the market was tanking, so I was kind of stuck in the position. And I tried to hang around in the position. In any event, unbeknownst to me, the actual change in the ticker symbol was happening on that day. So when I woke up in the morning at 4 a.m., I'm obviously hawking my phone, trying to see what's going on, waiting for those shares to show up in my E-Trade account. And I didn't get my hands on them and with the ability to trade them till about 9:30 or 9:40 in the morning. Meanwhile, they had already been trading from, I want to say 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. They were already trading in the background between other brokerages or institutions or something to that effect, which left me totally stuck holding the bag. I had already lost money. I had already lost value the day that I purchased SPRT. And then by time the ticker symbol launched, I think it was trading at $92. By the time I could get out, I sold it at like $45 and was down 71% on the transaction. Where I'm going with this is that I do not want to be in that position again. And what I'm trying to figure out is, what is the safeguard? Is it common, or does it happen that a stock can be halted in this particular situation so that, all traders get a fair shake in the game and can get out, the gates to the horse race, pop open at the same exact time? You know what I mean? So that I don't have to worry about whether or not TYDE is going to start trading at 4 o'clock in the morning and I still don't have my TYDE shares until 9:30. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. Unfortunately, there really aren't any safeguards on that. Obviously, the accused holding securities, and there are, of the circuit breaker to automatically halt trading in securities if they hit certain thresholds. But as far as it depends on when we would receive the shares. If we receive the shares overnight, generally we're going to try to get it to the regular market session open, for the security. Is it possible that you could end up in a position where you have something that hasn't updated? A lot of times it'll update, overnight to where it'll already be there when you get up, but that isn't always going to be the case. Sometimes it won't update until to the market open, or if it's intraday, so that it could update it during the day if we receive it intraday from the agent. So it depends on when it comes in. There's a lot of different variables. So is it possible that you can end up having something where you're in a position where it isn't updated to where you can trade out of it, even though the market's trading? Sure, that can certainly happen. And obviously.
Okay, and
But I don't want those assurances. Let's put it that way. I don't want to tell you, oh yeah, you're going to be, this isn't going to happen or whatever, because it certainly can.
all right. So the X date, again, we've established that the X date is May 31st. And I just want to clarify once again, I can buy big at any given time from now through the 27th and still be able to receive the TYDE divvy, correct?
Provided that you hold it going into the 31st, yes.
Okay, must hold it going into.
That's a big part of it, because if you buy it and sell it before the X, you're not getting it for those shares.
Yep. So I have to hold it through the 31st. And when we say through the 31st, does that mean market close on the 31st, or I can sell it on the 31st?
You can sell it on the 31st.
First thing in the morning, I can unload it if I want it.
Absolutely. Pre-market, even pre-market. You can buy it in the extended hours on, in this case, the 27th. Normally it'd be on 30th. But since that's a market holiday, obviously that's not going to happen. But you'd be able to buy it in the extended hour session
on the 27th, on the 27th, and still get the divvy,
and still be entitled to it, provided that you hold it going into the 31st.
All right, and again, the shares in whole shares, it's equivalent to 1 share of TYDE for every 10 shares of BBIG.
Yep. Yep, 0.1 is the rate. So for every 1 share, you get a share, which is, essentially, for every 10 shares, you get 1 of the new. Correct.
And to back up one more time regarding distribution. So the parties responsible for getting you those shares is it the transfer agency for Vinco Ventures and Cryptide?
Yep.
So the transfer agency that they are utilizing is responsible for getting those shares to you in a timely manner so that you can get them to us in a timely manner, correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay. All right. The T2 settlement date, that really doesn't apply considering the market's closed on Monday. We have to have the shares we have to have our shares purchased by the end of after hours on the 27th. So the T2 really doesn't apply, correct?
It's in a sense it does, because the T2 is why you're basically entitled to those shares, because you bought it with the thing priced in, but it can't be settled until the two business days, T+2. So it won't impact. The T2 doesn't impact. Basically, why you're entitled, even though you on the 27th, it can't actually be settled until after the X date has occurred. So you're still entitled to it because you're buying it with the spin-off shares
On the 27th.
baked into the price.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
It hasn't been updated for that until after the fact that you bought it. So you're still entitled to it, even though you've sold.
Okay. All right. Let me see here. So options contracts, once again, just to reiterate on that, if I wanted to, purchase a position, let's say 1,000 contracts, just for an example. If I wanted to purchase 1,000 call contracts, we'll assume for the sake of the example that, I ended up in the money, and at any point before the close of the market at 4 p.m. on the 27th, if I chose to, say, sell half of that position, so say I sold 500 contracts, call contracts, and took those funds, technically I could use those funds to exercise the other half of those options contracts that are in the money and for shares and still receive the TYDE dividend. Is that correct?
Well, if you're exercising it, if you're buying new shares, you're going to BBIG.
Yeah.
So you'd be calling the shares prior to the it's always as of when you do an exercise, it's as of the day. So because it doesn't run it through until overnight. You're getting the shares of BBIG that would be entitled to the dividend. The contract itself, and this is where you need to go to the OCC, because let's say if you're holding the contract, whether you're long or short, the contract's going to be adjusted by the OCC. I don't know what kind of adjustment they're going to make on it.
After the X date. But after the X date, correct?
Correct.
So it's only adjusted after the X date. In my example, I'm saying if I had 1,000 call contracts.
I know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But because the call, it'll be adjusted. The deliverable will be a contract to where if you were to exercise it after the 31st or after it's been adjusted, you're going to have a different deliverable that you'd be receiving. It'll have been adjusted for that, whatever you want to call it, spin-off dividend, stock dividend, whatever. You'd be entitled to receiving that as well. So since you're buying, if you exercise it on the 27th, that's prior to the X date, right?
Correct.
So you're buying shares of BBIG with the price still included in it. You're exercising it to get the pre-spin-off shares.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Means that those shares may be entitled to receive.
Perfect.
But you wouldn't be getting them through the exercise of the contract per se. Whereas if you exercised it after, then the contract will be adjusted to include that spin-off, the adjusted contract. That's why I'm trying not to be too confusing here, but it's a little bit different because you'd be entitled to it through owning the shares, not through
the contracts themselves. I understand that. Yep.
Yeah, for every one contract is going to get you 100 shares of BBIG, right?
Yep.
And you're getting them as of the 27th, when you exercise it on the 27th. So you're buying the pre-spin-off shares that would then be entitled to the spin-off shares.
Gotcha. Let me see here.
So it gets tricky, but and then I just want to make sure I get the verbiage right there too.
I understand you. Okay. All right. So the next question I have is with regard to, say, IOUs and whatnot, because I know there's a lot of IOUs that go back in the course of the T+2 and whatnot. So my question is, how are the IOUs handled when, okay, so we have a free float, right? Or authorized shares in general for BBIG. Are all authorized shares entitled to the spinoff, or is it just the free float that is entitled to the spinoff?
Well, generally the shares that are outstanding shares of the BBIG, when they do that, are entitled to it. So I'm not sure what you're.
I think what I'm getting at is with how are FTDs and all that handled, and short shares, how's that all handled?
Short shares. The short shares are where again, is going to, if your short shares go into that, you're going to be liable for the delivery of the new.
So the shorts in this particular situation going into the X date of May 31st, they'd be inclined, right, to get the hell out of Dodge or close their positions prior to that. Otherwise, they're on the hook for the full amount of the spinoff, correct?
They owe that if they're short going into the X date.
So it's either in cash. It's either in cash, or they close their positions prior to this going down.
So basically, any actual shares that any issued shares are entitled, if any issues are outstanding when they go to entitled to the spin-off shares.
I understand. All right. And as far as failure to delivers, how are they handled? Or do they have to be cleared up prior to the X date?
Well, you can have failure to deliver after the X date. If
Yeah, I'm just saying if there's shares that were being sold to people essentially naked, right?
Yep.
Essentially naked, right? So they're synthetic, so to speak. Is there a TYDE dividend? Is there a TYDE dividend associated to that naked share?
Are you talking virtual shares and stuff?
Well, I'm talking about the fact that, never mind. I'm sorry. I'm kind of off in my thoughts. I'm sorry. I'm off in my thoughts on that one. So we'll just scratch that question.
That's okay. Not a problem.
My mind's just over here going right now because it's just I've been in this market for a little while now, and it's dog eat dog world out there. I've done well, and I've also gotten eaten up in certain things. And I really like this company. I like what they're doing, but I also know it's a dog eat dog world, and I'm not trying to get jammed up in it. So I'm going to take the time to ask the right questions. That's all.
Absolutely. And that's, what we're here for. But, I'll tell you, the market's been so darn crazy, and the amount of, the kind of oddies and one-off type of stuff that's happened,
It's ugly.
Seems to be happening. Yeah, it is. There's just there's all kinds of stuff. So that's why I want to.
Well, I mean, that just concerns me even more because, at the end of the day, I'm a retail trader. Institutions push me around, you know what I mean? And so I got to try to make informed decisions. And, the way I see it right now is the market is ugly. And so all these people are out here now jockeying, around in positions and whatnot, trying to save their self at the end of the day. And, reality is this particular security has a shit ton of short interest in it from what I can see on my end. Now, I'm not on a Bloomberg terminal and all that, but I'm looking at the short interest over an extended period of time, and I can see very clearly in the stock price that it hasn't been cleaned up. So it's there. And, the hourglass is upside down right now leading into May 31st. So I am trying to figure out what are they going to do to get out of the position without pushing the stock price to wherever, and they don't want to do that. There's been a lot of publicity over the last year and a half about this particular subject. And so with that said, I'm trying to understand everything. I want to understand their avenues. How can they get out of this? And whatnot, because ultimately those people and their decisions, the institutions, you guys, etc., affect me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to be real. Like, you guys, whatever's happening out in the institutions and big money world affects what I'm doing. And, I'm just trying to make a decision as to whether I want to follow this thing through the 31st or get the hell out of Dodge.
I got you, and that's that valid thinking. So,
well, in any
because
event,
there are definitely risks involved, in trading in these securities when they're doing any sort of a corporate action. It puts in different, another level of on trading.
So as an investor in BBIG at this particular point, and I'm not asking for any kind of financial advice or whatnot, but in your personal and professional opinion, it would be in my best interest to get on the phone with their investor relations and make sure that they have their shit together, that they get you guys, their transfer agency gets you guys, all of you guys, whether it be you, TD, Morgan Stanley, whoever, everybody, get your shares in a timely fashion. Because I'm going to be honest, I mean, BBIG hasn't been the most punctual when it comes down to, or Vinco hasn't been the most punctual.
Well, I can tell you, one thing, it's not advice, but yeah, I can always advocate to people to, do your research and diligence, and, by all means, feel free to contact the companies that you're interested in investor relations. Getting that as far as what you said, if you want encouragement to do that, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's, something that you can do. You can ask if you can get more information. Now, sometimes from what I've heard from talking to people, is sometimes they aren't always the most helpful.
Yeah, no. No, they're not. And I understand that the brokerages and whatnot have kind of like, tiers in your call centers where, the first layer is to weed out all the dumbass questions and easy to answer questions. And then there's you guys that have a little more knowledge and can help us through this. So I want to just say that I appreciate your time. I'm not going to keep you on. We've been on the phone 50 minutes and that means so much to me. I appreciate your time, and you have a wonderful day.
Hey, you too. And if I don't talk before, weekend coming up here too.
All right, buddy. Well, you take it easy.
Take care, man.
Yep, thank you. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Well, guys, there you have it. I know that call is very broke up, so anything that you couldn't hear, I'm going to go back and re-listen to this thing. I think that we need to do another call to Monica, because you heard from the horse's mouth right there. The people that are responsible for getting all these brokerages the shares that they need to distribute to us are Vinco and TYDE collectively and their transfer agency that they're utilizing to distribute those shares. You just heard throughout that telephone call, you've seen some mention kind of fluttering around. People want to do the fear thing regarding Spurt. Is there a reason to be fearful? Well, in my personal opinion, yeah. I'm not trying to spread FUD. I'm trying to hold every single short's balls to the fire, because this has gone on long enough. Some of us got hurt in it. Some of us made money in it. I've done a little bit of both. And so I'm kind of even Steven in a way. So I'm okay with that. But it's time they pay. It's time they pay. Period. And at this particular point, the only way that I can see for them to get out of this situation that they're in, we all know, it's not a secret, and you just heard it from them. They know that the short interest in BBIG is high, extremely high. And right now, everything that we're all seeing with regard to the price action, the stop loss raids, et cetera, is all a matter of them trying to figure out how the hell they're going to get out of this shit from now until May 1st. That's it. If you hold, they can't get out. And the thing about it is, if we hold through the 31st, they can't get out, with the exception of one specific loophole or hole in the bucket that I see. And that is our brokerages getting TYDE shares on time so that they can all distribute them to us on time and that we can all trade at the same time, And it's kind of an unfair playing field at the end of the day, because, nobody should be in a situation like this. And nobody should be in a situation like we were with Spurt going into GRE, wherein other people in the marketplace or in other brokerages or institutions and whatnot are able to trade TYDE, or in my previous case, GRE, before the rest of the marketplace can trade it. I think that's absolute bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. I watched that thing open up at $90 or $92 or something to that effect. That Spurt going into GRE, and by the time I was able to get in and trade my shares, it had already dropped to like 40 something. I don't know where it is now. I think it's down $10 or some shit, and I'm thankful that I got out of Dodge at that particular point. But we have a limited amount of time. And all the bullshit that's going around, all the people that are trying to, downplay what it is that I had previously posted regarding due bill, I broke that. I'm not trying to take credit for it. It was an accident. I happened to say, F the bullshit. Watching all the difference in opinions going around, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to call my brokerage and have a conversation with them. Have the call escalated to somebody that knows what the fuck they're talking about. And go from there, which is exactly what I did. And lo and behold, boom, the due bill thing pops up. And that changes the game a lot. I believe it changes the game a lot. We can still buy this company, and it's a company moving. If any of you have been in it as long as I have, or playing with it as long as I have, we've watched all the shit with the Motive, the app, the progress that they made. I remember a time where it was like a bunch of Indian dudes and shit out in India chasing chickens around with cameras from phones that we used 10 years ago. Horrible video quality, horrible photo quality, horrible content, etc. Within the last month and a half, 2 months, that app has totally turned around. Definitely can compete with TikTok, in my personal opinion, at this point. The content's getting better and better as the days progress. The company is going in the right direction. We've seen a lot of shit regarding Farnsworth and, his previous debacles with MoviePass. But that's not now. And I've been in business a long time. I've been in multiple businesses in my life. And sometimes it takes failure to get it right. Period. And I believe that there's plenty of indicators in BBIG and Cryptide, Freescape, and all that, all the work that's being put into it right now, and we're seeing it come to fruition. So I don't believe that their intentions are for this whole entire thing to blow up and be a scam. They don't want that bad publicity. They want years of progress to come to fruition and pay out. Do they want to give it all to us? Hell no. You know, they want their piece, which is going to get into the whole, you know, request for more shares and all that down the road. We'll deal with it. But we need to deal with this specific situation right now. And the fact is, we've been beat up, chewed up, spit out time and time again over, you know, the last year or more in BBIG. And that's because all the big players out there have utilized this as a way to come at retail traders. They don't want us to win. They don't want us in the marketplace. We are a thorn in their ass, period. We're a thorn in their ass. So, is there reason for concern going into the TYDE spinoff? I believe there's some reason, but I think that we can deal with that shit right now. And it's going to take all of us taking this information, the information that I put out on BBIG's Reddit page and other social media platforms, StockTwits, etc. Is going to be all of us coming together, getting on the horn or through email to Monica Gold, who is representative of BBIG or Vinco's investor relations right now. And we need reassured that every single brokerage will have those shares on time. Maybe even in advance. They should have them in advance, in my opinion, so that we can confirm with all our brokerages that they have those shares going into May 31st, so that every one of us gets a fair shake in this. And then to really, really, really do what we need to do to send this shit to the moon is we need to hold it. Because what are they going to do? If we keep they want our shares to close their short positions. They want retail's shares to close their institutional short positions. And if we don't give it to them, they're going to eat theirself. And then when the first one gets eaten, the rest are going to be like, oh shit, such and such just made that move, such and such got eaten. And then it's going to be yard out. They're all going to eat themselves. Meanwhile, we're up. And we hold that shit. Period. So, we're 56 minutes into this thing. I apologize for the lengthy intro because I was waiting for the phone call. But I'm going to follow this up with, I'm going to try to transcribe it. I don't know how easy that's going to be because it was breaking in and out. And I apologize. I'm kind of out here in the woods and whatnot. Farmland and shit. I have a stone house and it was breaking up. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But I think that I was able to continuously reiterate the questions so that you guys could understand what was talking about when it was, what we were talking about when it was breaking up. And I don't know. I wish us all the best. I hope we can all get on the same page. If people are spewing FUD after this video, I mean, you just heard it from E-Trade, which is also owned by Morgan Stanley. So that's the views, in my opinion, of two different institutions. You know, they're not gonna just talk bullshit. Period. The call was recorded, and it was recorded with consent, in my opinion, because we started the call with them advising me that the call could be recorded. So there's no expectation of privacy in what we done there. So anybody else that wants to try to play some bullshit, you know where to go with it. But in any event, I think we all need to get on the same page right now. Time is absolutely of the essence. We need to get this done and make this shit happen, because everybody that has dealt with everything that we've dealt with, all the ups, all the downs throughout this entire thing, is well deserving of getting a return on their investment. So again, I am Just Spins on Reddit, parabolic trades across other platforms. You've seen me, I try to, you know, just make people aware of things like, you know, paid bashers and bots and trade halts, all kinds of different shit techniques that they use to manipulate the marketplace and take honest working people like you and I every day out of the game. It's time to change that, you know? And we all are responsible for making our own decisions. So this isn't a matter of this is just a matter of educating people. All I want to do, all my mission is to educate people. I'm not about talking price targets and all that shit, because at the end of the day, reality is nobody knows where none of this shit's going to go. It's pure speculation. What we do know is it absolutely has the potential to go up. And what that's going to take is people like us becoming educated and understanding the tactics that are being utilized in the marketplace by these abusive son of a bitches, and put it to rest. Because once you bite them and you bite them again, eventually they're going to back off. And eventually, if it gets to a point the federal government has to start paying people out, they're going to make moves. They're going to make some changes. Because if they don't make moves and they don't make changes, the people are going to come together and they're going to make the moves and make the changes. That will ultimately mean putting them some bitches out of office. And in my opinion, that needs to happen. Because everybody, left and right, at this particular point, they're all effed up to me. So, again, you just spins on Reddit, Parabolic Trades, across other platforms. I'm out.